Hi, it's Colleen and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited to kick off a series where I will show you in-depth information about each of my antique sewing machines. I find that it can be challenging sometimes to find information online about these old machines, particularly if they're a less well-known model, such as this National Paveway treadle sewing machine that dates to 1910. I recently had this serviced and so now it's up and running, and I thought it would be helpful to show you how to thread and sew with it. I'm also going to show you how I cleaned it up and polished it. Come along with me and I'll show you the process, but wait to the end and you'll see just how beautiful this machine sews. The National Sewing Machine Company made sewing machines from 1890 to 1957, although the founder, Barnabas Eldridge, made machines as early as 1879 under the Eldridge brand. National was an early entrant into the private label or badge sewing machine business. This meant that anyone willing to place an order large enough could have their own brand name put onto a National-made machine. And one resource I found said they produced more than 600 such brands. Paveway is one of them, and it was sold from 1908 to 1937. This isn't the same as the Paveway Regal, which was made by Regal Sewing Machine Company. If it were, it would probably be easier to find information for it. As it is, there isn't much information about National Paveway machines, despite nearly 3 decades of production. But I did find some photos and a YouTube video, which I linked to below, and they show a similar but later version of this machine. I asked Wayne Schmidt, the creator of that video, if he knew how to date the machines, and he provided some information that helped me narrow this machine down to about 1910 based on its serial number. Later research tells me that this may be the Sunshine model with a Paveway badge, but that's starting to get a little murky. I bought this machine on Craigslist about 10 years ago for $60. The previous owners had found it in a barn, and the cabinet's veneer was damaged and peeling. So he removed the old veneer and refinished the cabinet, which is just beautiful. But the previous owners never used the machine for sewing. They used it as a piece of furniture for many years. The wonderful thing about this machine is the cabinet was full of accessories, such as presser feet and extra bobbins, making this machine fairly complete. The treadle belt needed to be replaced, and it wasn't quite ready to sew. Fast forward to earlier this year, and I had a technician come out and oil the machine and install a new belt. The cabinet needs a little carpentry work in order to open and close like it should, but otherwise, this machine is ready to sew for the first time in I don't know how many years. Everything is moving just as it should, but as you can see, it's kind of tarnished looking. A little greasy looking right here, like I can scrape it with my fingernails. That's kind of gross and greasy right there. Sewing Machine Restorers swear by Gojo hand cleaner for cleaning old sewing machines. Get the original version without pumice, such as this one in the red and white jar. It's meant for people who work in machine shops or on automobiles to help clean the grease off of their hands while also being gentle on the skin. That means it's great for cutting through the grease on an old sewing machine without damaging the decals or the finish. The process is simple. Use your fingers or a soft cloth, rub some of the Gojo onto the surface, and wipe clean. For heavily soiled areas, let the Gojo sit for a few minutes before wiping. Some areas benefit from repeated applications, but the big rule is just to go slowly until you see how sturdy your decals are. And of course, don't try this if you have peeling or flaking paint. This is real-time footage, but I'm going to speed up the rest of it for the sake of time. This process is kind of addictive, and in fact I cleaned 3 of these sewing machines now. I find that this area right here on the back of the machine seems to always be the dirtiest. I think it's because it's the side that faces up when the machine is stored in the cabinet. In this case, the thick layer of grime probably helped preserve the decals, which are really in excellent condition on this 112-year-old machine. So, does Gojo do a good job of cleaning off antique sewing machines? Here's your answer. It's unbelievable how much dirt came off of this machine. I had wiped it down in the past and dusted it, of course, but this is amazing, and the Gojo really seemed to do a good job. Now that the paint and decals are clean, it's time to work on the metal. I learned that you can polish these metal parts using progressively finer sandpapers and some superfine steel wool, all of them lubricated with some sewing machine oil, and that will help remove rust and surface stains. You can follow up with some metal polish. Doing all of this by hand creates a satin finish, and if you have access to power tools, you can get these pieces even shinier. For now, a satin finish is just fine with me, and I'll show you the metal polishing process in more detail on another video since I recently cleaned and serviced 2 other antique machines. Cleaning this old machine made a huge difference in how it looks, and it only took me a few hours to give it a good bath. I'm not really interested in making this machine look brand new, but I am pleased to remove the grime and rust that made it hard to see the beauty of the machine. What you might not be able to see on camera is the depth of these decals. They really shine now. It's just beautiful. And you know, they don't make things like this anymore. So being able to restore, to a degree, the finish on this old machine just makes me really happy. We're going to start by winding the bobbin. This is the long bobbin that these vibrating shuttles take, and they are easy to find online. We're going to have the bobbin winder up and behind the belt because we want to make sure that this is being activated by the belt itself. Okay, so it's out of the way most of the time, but when you need to run the bobbin, we're going to put that little wheel right there. Put your thread as normal under the tension bar, and you put it through this little needle take-up thing and around and down under this hook and over the fork. Then you pull your bobbin winder forward to engage with the belt. The thread comes from underneath because of the way it winds. This pulls out and you can just drop this little bobbin right in there. So we're going to drop that in and get it on there. As the cam turns, this bar goes back and forth and make sure that your thread is wound evenly on there. It's really a clever mechanism. Then you pop it out and you can snip that thread. To thread the machine, we're going to have our spool of thread and our thread coming off the back. And this is what's known as a flat plate tension system. So you can tighten it with this screw here and you can release the tension with this little lever. So we're going to go down and under and in between those plates, and you will need to release the tension to get it in there. And right here, there is a little divider. So that thread needs to go through that divider. So we're going to go under that little tension loop, and then there is a division in the top of this. So this is going to go now from this little divider down here, and then we're going to loop it right around this. As I move the hand wheel, you can see how that hook is hooking the thread. We're going to thread the needle from left to right and then push the thread back behind. Now let's look at how to thread the shuttle. This is the top of the shuttle, and you can see it's got some grooves up here. It's got sort of a tension spring. When you drop it in, this is what you see on top. So we've got our shuttle threading around the back to the front, and we're going to drop it down in there. Then stick your finger on the top to hold that in place, and you're going to get it to go into this little groove and drop it under and then pull it back up. And you can see now the thread is coming out right here. It looks like it could fall through there, but there is not enough clearance for it to fall through. So you just drop it in just like that. Now I can hold on to both of my threads, and you can see how this will work. So as it comes down, the upper thread makes a loop, and the nose of that bullet shuttle catches that thread. So we're going to catch the loop and we'll pull it to the other side, and now the bobbin thread is coming up through the bottom. Now watch again. The needle goes down, it creates a loop. There it is right there. That shuttle grabs the loop and forms the stitch. Just like that. It's very cool. At long last, we are ready to sew. And when I pull this up, it doesn't want to pull out very easily. So you push down on the little tension release lever up at the top, pull your work forward, and there you go. This is on the longest stitch length that this machine does, which you can see forms a nice stitch. We'll show you again on a wider screen. I'm going to put my hand up here and give the wheel a tug and start stitching. Pull this up, press down here, and then I can pull that thread, snip it, and there's your stitch. As with most of these old machines, usually it just takes a little bit of cleaning and a little bit of oiling to get them back up in running condition. It's really hard to completely ruin an old machine like this as long as it has all of its parts. If you have any questions about this sewing machine, please go ahead and put them in the comments down below. I can't guarantee I can answer them, but I'll certainly look for answers or share the information that I do have. Anyway, that wraps up today's video. Thank you for joining me for this tour of a National Sewing Machine Paveway brand vibrating shuttle flat tension treadle sewing machine from 1910. Wow, that's a mouthful, isn't it? She's running as good as new, and I can't wait to make a project on this machine in the future. I'll also be giving a similar tour of some of my other antique machines, so don't miss a thing. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so that you know when I post a new video. Thanks for watching and have a great day.